Hey, Journey, it's Pastor John here with Midweek Conversations, joined with Pastor Dustin Agard. And this week, Dustin and I are being joined by Lake County campus pastor, Pastor Eddie Schmidt.
Welcome to the show, Pastor Eddie.
Hello, hello. How are you guys?
Eddie, we're good. Good to see you. Good to have you with us. Eddie, you were telling me just today, you've actually been at Journey even longer than I realized. How long have you been here?
So started off, I have a little bit of a weird history because I started off as an intern.
We're going to get into that.
Yeah. Not the cool term like the resident. That's not, we didn't have a cool term there. It was intern was the term.
Yeah.
So
that was the cool term at the time, Eddie.
You're right. So I came September 11th. Remember the 10-year anniversary.
Wow.
When we met at Apopka Amphitheater.
Yeah.
That was my first day.
You came here you were here for that?
Yeah, I'm glad I made such an impression on you. Yeah.
Eddie, there was a lot going on that day, bro.
It was pretty busy.
We had a lot of moving parts on that one.
Yeah. So
What did you do as an intern on that first day? Were you doing traffic? What did they have you doing?
I don't even remember. I don't even remember. I just remember it being really hot for September for being a northern boy.
So let me explain the internship.
All right.
From my perspective.
All right, great.
So
I'm glad we're already going there. Okay.
Steve Yetton, who is a mutual friend of Eddie's, he was a staff member of mine in Canton, Ohio, First Christian Church in Canton, Ohio. Steve leaves my staff, becomes a professor at Cincinnati Christian University, Eddie and I's alma mater that no longer exists. God rest it.
Yeah.
So Steve Yetton reaches out to me and he says, hey, I've got a student that needs to do an internship. He wants to do a preaching internship. I think he would be great, John, to do an internship with you. At the same time, I think Wally Rendell, who's another preacher friend of ours, and he said something similar about you. And I said, well, never had a preaching intern. We've had interns in other areas of our ministry, but not one that's specifically a preaching intern. So I said, let's do it. And Eddie came down. I don't remember telling you were no longer my intern.
That lasted a week.
I don't remember saying that.
I was going to be the next Billy Graham.
I remember a conversation saying, hey, maybe I need to do a little more in some other areas. So tell me how you remember that conversation. Man. How did I dump you from being the end of my preaching intern?
Well, this is how we know this is not scripted because I didn't know we were going here. But since you brought it up, how I remember, I came down.
It's like a breakup from memory.
I thought we were still dating.
It was after the first week of coming back, and we had services here. The week leading into there, to that weekend, you asked me about a sermon illustration with Barney Fife.
Yes.
And
wait, tell him how you pronounced it.
Fifth, I think.
Oh yeah, he's got to go.
So I asked him about the Andy Griffith Show, and he says, "Who is Barney Fifth?" And I said, "That's it. You're out. I cannot have a preaching intern who does not even know who Barney Fife is."
That's how I knew I had to look in other ministries to start serving. So,
But you made it a year. Were you here a year or like 10 months?
Yeah, it was like 9 or 10 months left in, I believe, April of 2012, and then came back as a pastor in September of 13.
I do remember you helped me out on a couple of things, Eddie. You won the... we got to go back a lot of years, but the principle of the path, the path that the idea that Andy Stanley introduced, it's direction, not intention, determines destination, right? So you and I kind of worked together on that.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That series.
There you go.
I did a couple communion thoughts.
Yeah.
And so it was really good. It was an awesome opportunity and very blessed. And honestly, I thought that was it. And it was just pretty cool to see how God's, moved me here. I remember at the end of my internship, I was talking to the youth pastor and I told him, I said, if I ever move back to Central Florida, I would want to live in Mount Dora. And pretty cool to think I live in Mount Dora today. So
when you came back, he came back and he was Eddie did two things. Number one, we hired you to be our student pastor, right? At Apopka. So you were the student pastor at Apopka?
High school pastor.
High school pastor, okay. The high school pastor at Apopka. And also helping out at our Mount Dora campus as that got launched.
Yeah.
Because Lake County used to be called Journey Christian Mount Dora. So from the beginning of what's now the Lake County campus, you were there.
Yeah.
And you helped Pastor Joel Craig, who you had some history with from your church in Illinois. You helped Joel kind of launch that.
Yeah, I looking back, I tell some of my pastor friends, I had the weirdest job where during the week I had the youth pastor hat on and loved on students and did a high school ministry on Wednesday nights and then on the weekends I was working with adults. So I was doing guest services. I also did tried to launch a student ministry out there. So out at the Mount Dora campus. So I lived in two worlds.
Well, I pick up two things. One, if you live in Lake County, I hope you understand why he's the campus pastor out there. It's because he literally loves the people out there. He loves the community. As he said, I don't know too many people that move out of state that say, when I move back, I would love to live there. And so that was his heartbeat, is his heartbeat, and that's what makes you a great campus pastor out there. And then I would say the second thing that I'm picking up, Pastor Eddie, is the only reason you're here is because you left here well. And I don't think people ever understand the value of leaving a job on good terms, because it's so easy to think about the next and to accidentally leave poorly. But you clearly left on good terms, which made it very attractive to bring you back. So I just want to tell anybody listening out there, there's seasons for everything. You're going to change jobs. Whatever you do, leave well. Bless people on the way out. Whatever job you have, you don't know what the future holds. And because you were able to leave well, that made Journey say, you know what, we need to bring him back for a different role. So that's kudos to you.
Yeah, good insight. Yeah, don't burn those bridges.
Yeah.
On the way out. That was good. So Eddie comes back. He's our student pastor or high school pastor in out Mount Dora for a period of time there. And then, how long have you been the campus pastor at Lake County now? 3 years?
Yeah, it will be coming up on my third year.
Coming up on your third year?
June of 18, I think.
June of 18? Wow.
Yeah, because I was the interim student pastor for a bit till we could hire a Christian or whoever that next was. I remember that. Yep.
Good. Just something really cool about Eddie's heart. I remember after you transitioned out of the student pastor role and were Lake County campus pastor, it was our first back to school bash that Pastor Christian led. And I'd heard Dustin talk about, back to school bashes that they had up in Georgia and what great events they were. And we had not seen that number of high school students out before, ever. But in Adventureland Theater here at our Apopka campus, I mean, we literally filled up that room of like 350, 360 students.
Yep.
And Eddie and I were in the back of the room, and I just watched Eddie, and I just saw how he rejoiced at where the high school ministry was. Even though, he was no longer leading it, he was there, and we were worshiping together and celebrating together and just looking around, say, man, Ed, can you believe this? Look at this. And I know Christian has said a lot of times, it's the foundation, the good foundation you laid, volunteers, just how you invested and loved those kids had a lot to do with how he came in and was able to really take off.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to your spiritual maturity, your leadership, all that. I used to think we hear that verse in Romans, rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. I used to think it was harder to mourn with those who mourn, but I think sometimes it's hard to rejoice with those that are rejoicing sometimes, and because it takes an extra level of maturity. And I think you nailed on how I think you did that. One thing I was talking to Pastor Christian about, because we just had a couple elders come in that we interviewed that were from the student ministry.
Yeah.
And I told Pastor Christian, I said, Christian, who's our family pastor, I said, man, kudos to you. You got two people serving in your ministry that are now elders. And he said, man, I'd love to take the credit, but that's Pastor Eddie. Those are people that Pastor Eddie brought onto the team, discipled, loved on, shepherded, cared for, and just stuck with students all this time. And so one, I thought it was cool for him to give that back to you, but also very incredible for you, not knowing you were raising up future elders. You were just being faithful what God called you, which is to build a team. So that's cool.
Well, we actually, in the student ministry, we actually had future elder classes. So,
Nice. Which is not what Pastor Christian has. So Christian did away with that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
1 point to Pastor Ed.
I'm just joking. But, honestly, I do remember, thank you for reminding everyone I'm a big softie. Yes, I did cry. And yes, no, but it was just a real humbling thing, because I know for me, I knew in my soul that that God was calling me to something else, and I didn't fully know. And I remember we were having some conversations about that, and just the way you kind of showed a lot of grace as I was trying to navigate that season of figuring out, okay, what is next for me, and knowing that I kind of hit my limit. I felt like I hit my limit in the student ministry, and God was calling me on, and I felt like he was going to call someone else on, Pastor Christian and you. And it was just real humbling to see just the faithfulness of God with that. So
That's cool. If for those of you that don't know personally Pastor Ed, he is such a joyful, genuine, just kind-hearted pastor. He just loves people well. And so I thought it was interesting as we were prepping for this, he referred to himself as a wild card guest.
Oh,
Wild card.
So,
Gotcha.
Pastor Ed, when you said that you were a wild card guest,
oh boy,
tell us what was going on in your head. What were you thinking? What did that mean? I'd love to hear what this means.
Well, you ever have those people in your life that they start a sentence and they don't know where it's going to go? Well, every once in a while, that will be myself. I always
and somewhere
want to
out there, your lovely wife, Sam, is probably going, he said that? He said that out loud? Hey, tell him just, I'm sorry we didn't say. Tell him a little bit about Sam and your two kids.
Yeah. So I'm married to Samantha.
Yes.
We actually met here, and we got two kids, John Wayne, who's 3, and Ella Rose, who is 11 months. So,
and you actually kind of can't make this stuff up. Went to Israel.
Yeah.
Went on a trip to Israel.
Yeah.
With a group from Journey.
I probably have the greatest promotion story for any mission trip or any trip that we do, because you could potentially meet your spouse on a trip.
I mean, the Holy Land.
In the Holy Land.
In the Holy Land, Eddie and Samantha start to kind of figure out, hey, maybe there's more than just taking a trip here.
Yeah.
Maybe we're going to take a trip through life together here. I don't know, but
I was driving.
That's quite a story.
My youngest, Darby, I was driving her to school today, and she was asking me about my day, and I told her about this, and she said, I miss Pastor Eddie's family. I haven't seen them. And she said, I haven't seen the kids since Corbin's wedding.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I thought that's the mark that you and your family have, is she can remember the last time, because of COVID, it's been a season.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to see everybody, but I thought that was cool that you have an impact on people you don't even know. And so we're grateful for that.
So I interrupted you about the wild card when you said, there may be a thought that comes out. I'll tell you what I thought when you said wild card.
Okay.
Eddie is known for asking questions.
Yeah.
Right?
There's worse things to be known by, but
and that's okay. But Eddie
don't justify it. Don't justify it.
Eddie's curious.
Yeah.
About everything.
He's curious and he wants to know. And so early on, when he was the intern working with me, I thought, this guy asks a lot of questions. And sometimes I don't like to be asked a lot of questions. So I don't know if I responded well all the time, Eddie. But that's one of the, so when I think a wild card is not what Eddie's going to say, is what questions Eddie going to ask.
Yeah, there's been a lot of dumb questions in my life, but I hope as I've gotten older, I ask questions to help clarify things. So
Well, I think questions are a sign of growth.
Yeah.
Do you have a go-to question you like to ask when you're trying to grow and kind of learn something?
Actually, a question I started asking, and there's a guy named John Maxwell, leadership guru. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but
I used to mentor him. He didn't have it in him anymore.
John, I'm sorry about my friend here.
You think John Maxwell's watching?
Yeah,
You think John Maxwell's watching?
Hey, Mr. Maxwell.
Hey,
But one of the questions he asks at the end of every meeting is, who do you know that I don't know that I should know?
Yeah.
And so that's one of the questions that I have started asking people.
That's how he met John Wooden.
Oh, really?
You know where he first asked that question?
I don't know.
Right here in Orlando, Florida.
Really?
First time. Well, when you disciple somebody, you kind of know a little bit more of their
Yeah.
story. Ain't that right, John? So, true story. He asked that question for the first time here, and somebody said, "Well, I know John Wooden. You need to meet John Wooden."
Wow.
And that's how he got connected. But that's a good question. I changed that question because this is my go-to question.
Yeah.
I like, and I'm not going to answer it here, but I got a good story. You might hear in a message soon. Is what do you know that I should know? Not who do you know, but what do you know that I should know? And the first time I ever shared that, God did something crazy, or the first time I ever asked that, it was a crazy God story. But this today is not about me. It's about you, Pastor Ed. So who do you know that I should know? If you don't know this about Pastor Eddie, he is a great networker. He loves knowing people just because that's his personality. He loves connecting with people, helps do. A matter of fact, my man, Pastor Eddie, did hook a brother up. He did on Facebook. Somebody said, "Hey, I'm looking for a speaker for a retreat," and he networked. He put my name down, and I'm actually going to be doing the retreat. So,
well, I only get a 25% cut. So
Wow. That's pretty good.
I'm joking.
so yes,
Well-
that's his heart. He loves
Yeah.
knowing people, networker, and connecting people, and that shows up in the church big time.
Well, we could talk about all kinds of good stuff, but let's talk about Lake County campus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this weekend, Eddie, tell us what is going to be happening out at our Lake County campus.
Yeah, so this weekend we are launching our 11:15 service, so
Yeah.
we're very excited about that. When we came back to on-site, in-person gatherings, we decided to just launch with just our 9:30 service. But through a lot of different means and prayer, we're excited to be launching that 11:15 service.
Talk a little bit about the value from a volunteer viewpoint, particularly children's volunteers, of being
Yeah.
able to have two services, not just one.
Yeah, well, we talk about this a lot about attending one and serving one, that you would attend a service and serve in a service. And that's really hard when you have one service.
Yeah, right.
So we just think there's great value, especially within kids where you have to miss a service to serve.
Yeah.
So there's great value in attending one and serving one.
Yeah, I'm excited what this is going to do for your volunteers, for your staff to be able to actually fully engage. And Pastor Ed, I got to tell you, your campus is the best smelling campus that we have. I mean, you put Sonny's and you put Golden Corral right there. You got the best smelling campus, and we are excited. I'm excited to have that second service. And one of the things you've done, Pastor Ed, that I'm excited about is you've really begin to serve schools, and just we just believe teaching is hard any day and age.
Yeah.
But right now it's really hard. And I know one thing y'all did just this past weekend. Tell everybody, what did y'all do for one of the schools?
Yeah, well, kudos to Zach Lucas, who leads the student ministry, but they made gift bags for every teacher in Mount Dora Middle School. So every single
That's
teacher
awesome.
got and I saw the students and the leaders, they were writing notes to the teachers. They were putting little pins and goodies all in the bag. And it was just a great touch to be in the school.
That's awesome. And we understand that a bag isn't going to solve all the teachers'
Right.
problems, but more than anything, we just want you to know we're with you, we're for you, and I think that's what the goal was, to say,
Yeah.
hey, we care about you.
And just even, during this, pandemic sort of season, I reached out to a couple principals and just said, hey, how you doing?
That's good.
And, I said, is there anything that the church can do to come alongside of you guys? And, a lot of them just said, we just appreciate your prayers.
Yeah.
And it meant so much to me to go, I can't, so often I want to be the person that solve something, or let me make something and give it to you. But sometimes it's just going before the Lord and on their behalf.
That's good.
Early on in the pandemic, I think back maybe the first weekend or two at March, Lake County campus did something at Waterford
Waterman
Hospital.
Yeah.
You didn't you take some pizzas
Yeah,
over?
we filled the back of my SUV and brought pizzas and just blessed the hospital and all the workers there. And I just think it's simple things of just showing up in our community, of just saying, hey, we're with you, we're for you, and we're coming alongside and want to see the best things happen. So
brag on your team a little bit. Tell them about who you mentioned. Zach Lucas, who leads student ministry, some of the other staff that serve with you out there.
Kelsey Denoon, she is leading the kids area, kids ministry, Journey Kids, does an awesome job. And Julie Jenks, who leads guest services, weekend experience, and it's awesome. And there's some other people behind the scenes. Austin Green leads worship, and there's really great team out there.
That's good.
Good.
We love our Lake County campus people. Yes, sir.
Can I give one more shout out? There's a guy who's behind the scenes that I really have to give a shout out, because he goes over and above. His name's Rick Pandoff, Rick does sound, but he is just a servant-hearted guy. There was a family in need who reached out to us and saying, hey, we're short on finances, but our car is broken down. And Rick gladly raised his hand and helped out this family.
Awesome.
Turns out I don't know how to work on a car, so
really,
absolutely not. Yeah,
it seems like so long ago, but it was just a little over a year ago, because you posted something on Facebook that the Lake County campus moved into that new building that we have, the former Lake County tag office, and made it into a Journey Christian, really a true Journey Christian campus. Smaller version, but very much that. That seems like such a long time ago now, but it was just a little over a year ago that happened, and we saw such momentum. We were filling up 2 services, and we were preparing to go to a 3rd service out at Lake County, and then COVID-19 happens, and everything just kind of comes to a screeching halt. But we saw potential, and we saw what can happen there, and still believe very much in what God is doing in our Lake County campus.
But it wasn't just a new building. I think, Pastor Ed, what you did is you brought a new spirit, you brought a new team to see where the culture is in Lake County now. That wasn't just, hey, we got a new building with new keys, and that it's not just automatic. You helped really create a new culture that God is thriving. I mean, before COVID, there was energy, there was momentum. God was doing all kinds of things, and we believe that's continuing now, which is why just here this weekend we're going to add a 2nd service. So we're excited. Proud of you for all that you're doing out there. Really grateful for you as a pastor, and I know you have a heart for leadership. And this is just another day, for you being here, because you have your own leadership podcast.
Yeah, tell us about
Pastor Ed.
So it's something that me and a couple friends started a couple years ago. Actually, one of the church's interns here at Journey, a guy named Connor Wood. He was Shout out Connor. He was worked alongside of me when I was a student pastor, and I had an idea of, man, I was spending a lot of time with him, trying to give him advice and walk alongside. And so when we kind of parted ways, we just continued to have those sort of conversations. And then one of his mutual friends named Dom, we kind of roped him in, and we kind of started this podcast, and we did it kind of as a thing just to have some fun, and then it's been kind of cool to see how God's been using that.
So if we have some listeners, they want to watch or listen, how would they find out?
Sure. It's called LEADEROLOGY Co.
So you made up words.
We made up words. We make up words.
Now, if they had, if they only had limited time and they could either listen to this or that, what do we tell them, Pastor Ed?
Oh man, Can you play
You
them at
don't
the
have
same
limited time.
No.
That's the best part. You can listen
Here's
to both.
the question. Here's, since I'm the wild card guest, I want to know from you, from the viewers, from our church family, who in our Leaderology podcast, who should I interview first? Pastor John or
boy.
Pastor Dustin?
Yeah, definitely Pastor Dustin.
Unless it's got a lot of zeros, I'm not coming on your show. I need
Well, then
lots of zeros.
You might want to come my way there.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, we are so glad to work alongside Pastor Eddie Schmidt.
Yeah.
And Eddie, it's you said 8 years?
No, I hit my 7-year mark.
Oh,
I'm
7
going
years.
on my
Okay.
8th year. Yeah.
It's just been a joy to see Eddie grow. I mean, really just to grow from that intern level to now leading a campus for Journey, overseeing leaders, developing leaders. It's just it's been exciting to see. So thanks, Pastor Eddie,
Absolutely.
and a big shout out to our Lake County campus. Lake County campus will have you in our prayers this weekend. If you would like to serve with our Lake County team, if you're out in that area and would like to invest particularly in children, I know you can get a hold of Pastor Eddie at eschmidt@journeychristian.com, and that's his email, and he'd be happy to connect with you there. But looking forward to seeing 9:30 and 11:15. Did I say that wrong?
No,
Okay.
it's all perfect. But the really cool thing, and it's funny how God works. We're launching the 11:15 service with a baptism.
Oh, wow.
cool.
Awesome.
And it's just a cool way of God's hand being on that service. So we're
That's
really
awesome.
excited.
Well, we're excited about that. And we'll be with you again this Sunday with another message in the Soul Care series. We're going to be talking about rest for your souls. And Jesus talked about that when he said, "Come to me and I'll give you rest for your souls." And there's just so much we need to learn about that in this particular season. A lot of people have been home more than they've ever been home before, but they're not resting. And they don't understand what it means to have rest for their soul. So that's what we're going to be talking about this coming Sunday.
And
Pastor Dustin?
just a reminder, we don't need tickets anymore.
Yeah,
we're
don't.
not doing the ticketing
Right.
system. And I got to imagine every single one of us knows somebody that can use rest for their souls. So without tickets and with the message this weekend, it's a great time to go ahead and bring a friend, bring a neighbor, somebody that feels like they need rest. This is a great opportunity to be able to minister to them.
Amen. Amen. Hey, thanks for joining us on this week's edition of Midweek Conversations. We look forward to seeing you either on site at Apopka or Lake County or our online community. We're always on mission and loving the journey. Have a great week.